What if I told you that some of the support your body needs may already be sitting in your kitchen or growing by your window? For generations, people relied on simple herbs, roots and teas to support digestion, energy, relaxation, and everyday wellness. These plants were not used as miracle cures, but as steady tools that became part of daily life. Today, many of us overlook these herbs because we are surrounded by quick fixes and complicated products. But modern research is starting to take a closer look at some of these same plants. In this video, you will discover 7 simple herbs that have stood the test of time, including one that may support digestion and another that has long been used to promote calm and relaxation. First, one is ginger, the everyday root that warms and supports. Ginger, often called the warming root, is one of those plants that's been sitting right in front of us all along. You've probably used it in cooking or had it in tea, but it's much more than just a flavor. It's a simple, everyday root that people have leaned on for generations to support how the body feels and functions. If you go back thousands of years, ginger shows up in some of the oldest healing traditions we know. In Ayurveda and traditional Chinese practices, it was commonly used to support digestion, keep the body warm, and help people get through seasonal discomforts. It wasn't treated as something special or rare, it was part of daily life. A slice in hot water, a bit added to food, something small but consistent. What's interesting is that modern research is starting to catch up with what people seem to understand intuitively. Studies suggest ginger may support digestion, especially when things feel slow or heavy. It's also been looked at for its role in easing occasional nausea and helping the body manage normal inflammatory responses. Nothing extreme, nothing exaggerated, just steady support in areas where many of us feel off from time to time. The reason ginger works this way comes down to a few natural compounds, mainly gingerols and shojols. You don't need to memorize those names. Just think of them as the parts of the root that give it that warm, slightly spicy kick. That sensation you feel when you drink ginger tea or eat fresh ginger is part of what makes it so effective. It gently stimulates the system, encourages movement in digestion, and creates a kind of internal warmth that your body can respond to. And the best part is how simple it is to use. You don't need anything complicated. One of the easiest ways is to slice a small piece of fresh ginger, drop it into hot water, and let it steep for about 10 minutes. That's it. You can sip it slowly, especially after meals or when your stomach feels a little off. If fresh ginger feels too strong, dried ginger powder in warm water works too, just in smaller amounts. That said, ginger is powerful in its own way. Some people notice it feels a bit intense on an empty stomach, especially in larger amounts. So it's usually better to start small and see how your body responds. And if you're on medication or have a sensitive condition, it's always a good idea to check with your healthcare provider before using it regularly. So why did something this useful fade into the background? In a lot of ways, it became too familiar. When something is always in your kitchen, you stop seeing it as anything special. At the same time, quick, over-the-counter options became more convenient, and we started reaching for those instead. Ginger didn't stop being helpful. We just stopped paying attention to it. But when you bring it back into your routine, even in small ways, you start to notice the difference. It's not dramatic. It's not instant. It's steady. Think of ginger like a small fire inside the body. Not a blaze, not overwhelming heat, but a gentle, steady warmth that helps everything move a little better, feel a little lighter, and stay a little more balanced over time. Second is turmeric. The golden root of long-term support. Turmeric, often called the golden root, is one of those ingredients you've probably seen countless times, but may not have fully paid attention to. That deep yellow color in curry, that warm tone in certain teas, that earthy flavor in traditional dishes, it all comes from this simple root. And while it's easy to think of it as just a spice, it has a much deeper story when it comes to everyday support. For thousands of years, turmeric has been a staple in traditional Indian practices. It wasn't treated like a supplement or a special remedy you only used occasionally. It was part of daily life. People used it in food to support overall balance, for joint comfort as they aged, and even applied it to the skin for its soothing qualities. It was woven into routines in a way that felt natural, not forced. What's interesting today is how modern research is starting to explore what people seemed to understand long ago. Studies suggest that curcumin, the main active compound in turmeric, may support the body's natural inflammatory response. It's also known for its antioxidant activity, which means it may help the body handle everyday stress from things like diet, environment, and aging. Again, nothing extreme or instant, but steady support over time. Now, curcumin on its own isn't easily absorbed by the body. This is where traditional wisdom really stands out. For generations, turmeric was almost always combined with black pepper and some form of fat like oil or milk. And today, research indicates that black pepper contains a compound called piperine, which may significantly improve how well the body absorbs curcumin. The fat helps carry it through the system. So what looked like simple cooking was actually a very practical way to make turmeric more effective. You don't need anything complicated to start using it. One of the easiest ways is to make a simple turmeric drink. Warm up a cup of milk or a plant-based alternative, add a small pinch of turmeric, a dash of black pepper, and maybe a bit of honey if you like the taste smoother. Stir it well and drink it slowly, especially in the evening. You can also just add turmeric regularly to your cooking. Consistency matters more than quantity here. At the same time, more isn't always better. Large amounts of turmeric or concentrated forms may not suit everyone, especially if you have certain conditions or are taking medications. It's always better to keep it moderate and steady. And if you're unsure, checking with your healthcare provider is a smart step. So why did turmeric fade from everyday use for so many people? In part, it became too commercialized. It showed up everywhere as a supplement, a powder, a capsule, often marketed as something you had to buy in a special form. And in that process, the simple habit of using it in your kitchen was overlooked. People started thinking they needed a product instead of just using the root they already had access to. But when you bring turmeric back into your daily routine in a simple, consistent way, you start to reconnect with how it was always meant to be used. Not as a quick fix, but as a long-term companion. Think of turmeric like a slow, steady sunrise. You don't notice it all at once. It doesn't rush or overwhelm. But over time, it brings light, warmth, and a quiet kind of strength that builds day by day. Third is garlic. The strong-scented protector, garlic, often called the strong-scented protector, is one of the most familiar ingredients in any kitchen. You've probably chopped it, cooked with it, maybe even avoided it before a social event because of the smell. But behind that sharp scent is a long history of people relying on garlic as more than just flavor. It's been respected for generations as a simple, everyday way to support the body. If you look across different cultures, garlic keeps showing up in the same way. In ancient Egypt, workers were given garlic to help them stay strong. In traditional European homes, it was used during seasonal changes when people wanted extra support. In many parts of Asia, it became a daily staple, not just for taste, but for its reputation as a natural protector. It wasn't rare or expensive. It was something people trusted because it was always there. Today, modern research is beginning to explore what people seemed to notice long ago. Studies indicate that garlic may support immune function, especially when used regularly over time. It's also been linked to cardiovascular health, with research suggesting it may help support healthy blood flow and overall heart function. Again, not in a dramatic or instant way, but in a steady, consistent pattern that builds with daily use. The real strength of garlic comes from its natural compounds, especially one called allicin. This is what gives garlic its strong smell and sharp taste. What's interesting is that allicin isn't present in whole garlic cloves right away. It forms when you chop, crush, or chew the garlic. That reaction is what releases its active properties. So that strong scent you notice isn't just a side effect. It's a sign that something useful is happening. Using garlic doesn't have to be complicated. One of the simplest ways is to crush a clove and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before adding it to your food. This gives those active compounds time to develop. You can mix it into meals, soups, or even spread a small amount on toast with a little olive oil. Some people choose to take it raw, but that can be intense, so starting small is usually the better approach. At the same time, garlic is powerful, and it's worth being mindful. Raw garlic in large amounts can be harsh on the stomach for some people. It can also interact with certain medications, especially blood thinners, because it may influence how blood flows. If you're taking medication or have a specific condition, it's a good idea to check with your healthcare provider before making it a regular habit. So why did something this useful start to fade into the background? A big part of it comes down to convenience and preference. Garlic has a strong taste and smell, and not everyone enjoys that. As processed and ready-made foods became more common, fewer people were cooking from scratch. And when you're not preparing fresh meals, you're not reaching for fresh garlic. Over time, it became more of an occasional ingredient instead of a daily staple. But when you bring garlic back into your routine, even in small amounts, you start to reconnect with something simple and reliable. It doesn't ask for much. It doesn't require a complicated process. It just works quietly in the background, day after day. Think of garlic like a guard at the gate. It's not loud, it doesn't draw attention to itself, but it's there, standing watch, helping to support your body in ways you might not even notice until you look back and realize how steady things have felt. Fourth is peppermint, the cooling leaf for daily comfort. Peppermint, often called the cooling leaf, is one of those herbs most of us recognize instantly. You taste it in gum, candies, toothpaste, and teas. It's fresh, sharp, and familiar. But somewhere along the way, it became known more for its flavor than for what it can actually do for the body. And that's where we've overlooked something simple and useful. Long before it became a flavoring, peppermint was used as a daily comfort herb. In traditional European and Middle Eastern practices, it was commonly brewed into tea after meals to support digestion. It was also used when the head felt heavy or tense, or when the body needed a gentle way to settle down. It wasn't something reserved for special situations. It was part of everyday rhythm, especially after eating or at the end of the day. Today, modern research is starting to look at peppermint in a similar light. Studies suggest peppermint may support digestive comfort, especially when things feel bloated or unsettled. It's also been explored for its ability to help ease occasional tension, particularly in the head and neck area. The effects aren't overwhelming, but they're noticeable in a calm, supportive way. What gives peppermint this effect comes down to its natural compounds, especially menthol. That cooling sensation you feel when you taste peppermint or smell it is more than just a sensory experience. Menthol interacts with the body in a way that can create a sense of ease and openness. It can help relax certain muscles in the digestive system and provide a cooling contrast that the body responds to quickly. One of the easiest ways to use peppermint is as a tea. Just take a small handful of fresh leaves or a teaspoon of dried peppermint, pour hot water over it, and let it steep for about 5 to 10 minutes. Sip it slowly after meals or whenever your stomach feels off. It's gentle, easy to prepare, and fits naturally into a daily routine. Peppermint oil is another option, but it's much stronger and needs to be used carefully. A drop or two diluted properly can be used externally, like on the temples for tension, but it's not something to use casually or in large amounts. For most people, starting with tea is the safest and simplest approach. So why did peppermint lose its place as a functional herb? In many ways, it became too common. When something is everywhere as a flavor, we stop seeing it as anything more. It got pushed into the category of taste instead of support. At the same time, people began turning to faster solutions for digestive discomfort, forgetting that something as simple as a warm cup of peppermint tea could help in a steady, reliable way. There's also something about simplicity that we tend to underestimate. If it's easy, we assume it's not powerful. But peppermint doesn't need to be complicated to be effective. Its strength is in how quickly and gently it works with the body, not against it. When you bring peppermint back into your routine, it doesn't feel like a big change. It feels like a small adjustment that makes a noticeable difference over time. A cup of tea after a meal. A moment to pause and reset. A simple way to support your body without overthinking it. Think of peppermint like a cool breeze on a warm day. It doesn't force anything. It doesn't overwhelm. It just moves through quietly, bringing a sense of relief and balance right when you need it most. Before we go any further, take a second and think about what you already have at home. There's a good chance at least one of these herbs is sitting in your kitchen right now, maybe without you even realizing how useful it can be. This isn't about adding more to your life. It's about seeing what's already there in a different way and using it with a little more intention. If you're enjoying this kind of simple, practical knowledge, go ahead and like the video. It really helps more people find this kind of content. And if you want more grounded, self-reliant ideas like this, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Fifth one is chamomile. The gentle flower for rest and calm, chamomile, often called the gentle flower, is one of the simplest herbs you can bring into your daily routine. It's light, floral, and easy to drink, most commonly as a warm tea. At first glance, it may seem almost too mild to matter, especially in a world where stronger options are always being pushed. But that softness is exactly where its value comes from. For centuries, chamomile has been used as a calming herb across many cultures. In traditional European practices, it was often brewed in the evening to help the body settle down after a long day. Families would give it to both adults and children to support rest, ease occasional digestive discomfort, and create a sense of calm before sleep. It wasn't treated as a last resort. It was part of a daily rhythm, something you reached for without hesitation. Today, research is beginning to support what people have long experienced. Studies indicate that chamomile may support relaxation and help improve sleep quality, especially when used consistently. It's also been looked at for its gentle effects on the digestive system, particularly when things feel tense or unsettled. The key word here is gentle. It doesn't force the body into anything. It works with your natural rhythm. Chamomile's effects come from a group of natural compounds, including one called apigenin. You don't need to remember the name, but it helps explain why chamomile feels the way it does. These compounds interact with the body in a way that may encourage relaxation, helping the nervous system slow down just enough for you to feel at ease. It's not heavy or sedating. It's more like a quiet signal that it's okay to unwind. Using chamomile is about as simple as it gets. A teaspoon of dried flowers or a tea bag in hot water, steeped for 5 to 10 minutes, is all you need. Drinking it in the evening, about 30 to 60 minutes before bed, tends to work best. You can also have it after meals if your stomach feels a little tight or uneasy. It's a small habit, but one that can make a noticeable difference over time. Chamomile is generally considered very gentle, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. If you have allergies to plants like ragweed, daisies, or marigolds, you may want to be cautious, as chamomile is in the same family. And as with anything you're adding regularly, if you're pregnant or taking medication, it's a good idea to check with your healthcare provider first. So why did chamomile start to feel less relevant? In many ways, it became a victim of its own nature. Because it's mild, people began to assume it wasn't effective. As stronger, faster-acting options became more common, the idea of slowly sipping tea didn't seem powerful enough. We started looking for something immediate, something noticeable right away, and in that process, we overlooked the quiet consistency that chamomile offers. But when you bring it back into your routine, you start to notice something different. It's not about a sudden shift. It's about a gradual change in how your body feels at the end of the day. A little less tension, a little more ease, a smoother transition into rest. Think of chamomile like a soft evening light. It doesn't demand your attention or try to take over. It simply creates the right environment for your body to slow down, settle in, and do what it's naturally meant to do. Sixth is aloe vera, the plant that soothes from the outside in. Aloe vera, often called the soothing plant, is one of the easiest and most practical herbs you can keep at home. It's a simple green succulent with thick, fleshy leaves, and inside those leaves is a clear gel that feels cool the moment it touches your skin. Most people recognize it from store-bought products, but the fresh plant itself is where its real value shows up. Across many cultures, aloe vera has been used for generations as a go-to plant for skin support. In ancient Egypt, it was sometimes referred to as the plant of immortality and used for beauty and skincare. In traditional practices across India and other regions, people would break open a leaf and apply the gel directly to the skin for burns, dryness, or irritation. It wasn't processed or packaged. It was simple, immediate, and right there when needed. Modern research is now taking a closer look at aloe vera and how it works. Studies suggest that aloe may support skin repair and hydration. It's been explored for its ability to help the skin maintain moisture and recover from minor stress. The effect is gentle but noticeable, especially when used fresh and consistently. The reason aloe feels so soothing comes down to the natural compounds inside the gel. It contains a mix of water, polysaccharides, and other plant-based components that help hold moisture and create a protective layer on the skin. When you apply it, it doesn't just sit there. It interacts with the surface of your skin in a way that helps it feel calmer, cooler, and more balanced. Using aloe at home is about as straightforward as it gets. If you have a plant, you can cut a small piece of a leaf, slice it open, and scoop out the clear gel inside. Apply it directly to the skin wherever you need it. It works well for dry areas, minor irritations, or after sun exposure. You don't need to overdo it. A thin layer is enough, and you can reapply as needed. While aloe is most commonly used externally, it's important to be cautious with internal use. The inner gel is different from the yellow latex just under the skin of the leaf, which can be harsh and is not typically recommended without proper preparation. For most people, sticking with external use is the safest and simplest approach. And as always, if you have sensitive skin, it's a good idea to test a small area first. So why did aloe vera move out of everyday use in its natural form? A big reason is convenience. Instead of keeping a plant at home, many people turn to packaged creams and gels. Those products can be useful, but they often come with added ingredients, and the connection to the plant itself gets lost. We started relying on products instead of the source. There's also something about having to grow or maintain a plant that feels like extra effort in a fast-paced world. But aloe is one of the easiest plants to care for. It doesn't need much water. It thrives in simple conditions, and it gives back whenever you need it. When you keep an aloe plant nearby, it changes how you respond to small, everyday issues. Instead of reaching for something manufactured, you reach for something living, something you've been taking care of. There's a different kind of connection there, and it brings a sense of self-reliance that's hard to replace. Think of aloe vera like a natural first aid kit sitting quietly on your windowsill. It doesn't demand attention, it doesn't take much to maintain, but when you need it, it's right there, ready to support you in the simplest way possible. Last one is holy basil tulsi. The stress resilience herb, holy basil, often called tulsi or the stress resilience herb, is a fragrant plant that's been quietly supporting people for generations. It has a slightly sweet, earthy aroma, and it's most commonly used as a tea. At first, it may seem like just another herbal drink, but tulsi has a deeper role when it comes to helping the body handle daily pressure. In traditional Indian practices, tulsi has long been considered a sacred plant. It was often grown near homes and used every day, not just for physical support, but as part of a balanced lifestyle. People would drink tulsi tea to help maintain a sense of calm, stay steady through changing seasons, and support overall well-being. It wasn't used occasionally. It was part of a daily rhythm, something consistent and reliable. Today, modern research is beginning to explore what tulsi has been known for traditionally. Studies suggest that tulsi may support the body's response to stress, helping it adapt more smoothly to physical and mental strain. It's often described as an adaptogenic herb, which simply means it may help the body maintain balance when life feels demanding. Research also indicates it may support overall wellness through its antioxidant properties. The way tulsi works comes down to its natural compounds, including things like eugenol and other plant-based elements that interact with the body's stress response systems. You don't need to remember the names. What matters is how it feels. Instead of pushing the body in one direction, tulsi seems to help bring things back towards center. Not sedating, not stimulating, just steadying. Using tulsi is simple and doesn't require much effort. The most common way is as a tea. You can use fresh leaves if you have access to the plant, or dried leaves if you don't. Add a teaspoon to hot water, let it steep for about 10 minutes, and drink it once or twice a day. Many people find it especially helpful in the morning to start the day calmly, or in the evening to unwind without feeling drowsy. Consistency matters more than intensity with tulsi. It's not about taking large amounts. It's about using it regularly, allowing its effects to build gradually over time. That steady approach is what makes it fit so naturally into daily life. Tulsi is generally well tolerated, but like any herb, it's wise to be mindful. If you're pregnant, nursing, or taking medication, it's a good idea to check with your healthcare provider before using it regularly. Keeping things moderate and paying attention to how your body responds is always the best approach. So why hasn't tulsi become a common part of Western households? One reason is simple familiarity. It hasn't been part of the traditional kitchen or routine in many parts of the world, so people just don't think of it. At the same time, the rise of commercial supplements has shifted attention away from simple herbs you can brew at home. People often assume they need something more complex, something packaged and labeled, instead of something as straightforward as a cup of tea. But when you introduce tulsi into your routine, you start to notice a different kind of support. It doesn't try to override how you feel. It works alongside you, helping you stay a little more steady, a little more balanced, even when life gets busy or unpredictable. Think of tulsi like a steady anchor in rough waters. It doesn't stop the waves, and it doesn't change the environment around you, but it helps you stay grounded, centered, and better able to handle whatever comes your way. None of these herbs are rare or complicated. They are simple, familiar, and often already part of daily life. The real difference is awareness. Small habits like a cup of tea, a simple addition to your meals, or one plant you use regularly can add up over time. You do not need to try everything at once. Start with one thing and stay consistent. If this simple approach resonates with you, like the video, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who values natural living. I'll see you in the next one. Before you start adding any of these into your routine, it's worth keeping a few simple things in mind. These herbs have been traditionally used for general wellness support, but they're not guaranteed solutions, and they're not meant to replace professional care when it's needed. Everyone's body is different, and your response may not be the same as someone else's. What feels helpful for one person might feel neutral or even uncomfortable for another. That's why it's important to start small, pay attention, and adjust based on how your body responds. It's also important to remember that some herbs can interact with medications or may not be suitable for certain conditions. If you're currently taking medication, managing a health concern, or if you're pregnant or nursing, it's a good idea to check with your healthcare provider before making anything a regular habit. The goal here is not to overcomplicate things, but to use good judgment. Keep it simple, stay aware, and approach these tools with a balanced mindset.